If you didn't know, now you know. This weekend we have a fight between Mike the race baiter Jackson versus Pat the grandfather Miletich. We have a 57-year-old man versus a 38-year-old literal fucking can from the UFC, like a literal MMA journalist photographer who somehow his whole MMA career was in the UFC before this fight, versus a former UFC champion from the 1990s. We're in an interesting timeline where we got the first welterweight champion versus Mike Jackson. Very interesting fight. The fucking promo for this fight was conflicting ideologies in a battle of youth and ideologies comes together in a clash or whatever the fuck it was. It's really weird. This is weird, but I like weird. Weird fights like this are what really make me love the sport. What can I say? I'm a weirdo, but I'm weirdly very interested in this fight. Pat Miletich as a fighter is better in every single way than Mike Jackson, but he's also 57 years old. And Mike Jackson's no spring chicken either. He's 38. But when you look at it, Pat Miletich in his prime was really good. Mike Jackson in his prime was complete and utter dog shit. And I'd say he's past his prime. But Pat Miletich is clearly more past his prime. But way past his prime might still be enough to beat Mike Jackson. I think Mike Jackson is very, like, not even just because of how I feel about the guy personally. I think he's a fucking genuine racist, Mike Jackson. He clearly hates white people. The guy's a fucking cockhead. That's all I got to say about Mike Jackson. Just go through this guy's Twitter or his Instagram, and you'll read for a few of the messages, and you'll know this guy's an utter fucking cockhead. He's a twat. That's all I got to say. He's a fucking wanker. Just go through Mike Jackson's fucking X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and look up white fragility. He responds that to any single person who disagrees with him. You can have a Mexican flag, an Iranian flag, or you could be a black man with a black profile picture of yourself that is clearly you, and he will still respond white fragility. And I don't just say this, I'm not just saying this, I've literally seen it. He's literally called non-white people out for white fragility. Yeah, the guy's a fucking dickhead. For a guy who prides himself on being like this big activist guy and fighting against like white privilege and all this sort of shit, Mike Jackson's had a very privileged life. The guy fucking played badminton as a kid, and his dad was a cop. You know, his dad was a fucking cop, and he grew up in like a rich area of Texas. He got a job in the UFC because he was a fucking newspaper boy. He used to go and fucking, those like newspaper boys from like the 1950s and like the sitcoms who, when everyone's like waking up, you see in the movies, like when the old guy in a gown will open up the door, there'll be some boy like throwing newspapers on people's doorsteps. That was what Mike Jackson was. He was a fucking newspaper boy. And that's how he met Mick Maynard and got a job in the UFC because he was friends with Mick Maynard. Like he literally had a privileged life. Didn't do anything. Didn't achieve anything without. No, it was all about the people he knew. I find it very ironic. Is what I'm getting at here. But anyway, enough about my thoughts on Mike Jackson. I guess I went a little bit overboard there. Pat Miletich, he's fucking been busted for drink driving, so he's a fucking dickhead as well, because I don't condone drink driving. I don't care who the fuck it is. Don't do it. Don't fucking put people's lives at risk because you fucking want to get home. But I don't know, just don't drink and drive. I don't think Pat Miletich is clearly as bad. It was probably just he made some bad judgment or something, but it's still a fucking dumb thing to do. I'm sure Pat Miletich had to get home and go read a fucking hunting magazine or some shit. But yeah, sorry, I've gone completely off topic here, but I just needed to have a. Mike Jackson brings it out of me. The guy's a fucking idiot. If he's ever in Australia, I will generally fight Mike Jackson in a fucking fight if he wants to go. I generally think I would kick his ass. He's shit. But anyway, I guess you can probably guess who I'm going to be going with in this fight. But I am going to go, even though he's older, even though he's an old man, he's nearing his 60s. I still think he has enough to beat Mike Jackson. Honestly, I think you could just ragdoll Mike Jackson. Mike Jackson is like he's a boxer. He has boxing fights, undefeated in boxing against cans, of course. But the guy's got some boxing. I'll give that to Mike Jackson. He's not useless with the boxing. Obviously, he's not good. He's not good. Don't get me wrong. He's horrible, but like that is his best. That is what he's got. Uh, Fights with a very traditional type boxing style. He's got some good head movement at times, but he gets a little cocky and then he gets caught. He's not got a good chin at all. We've seen him get chinned in his last fight by Pete Rodriguez. Then we've seen him get dropped by Dean Barry. He was on the way to getting knocked out there. We've seen him get dropped in like a few seconds by Mickey Gall. Even CM Punk like sort of hurt him on the feet. Not like I'm not saying he was like about to knock him out, but it looked like he like sort of rocked Mike Jackson with like some really weak pitter patter punches. I think if CM Punk is ever hurting you, especially when like Mike Jackson was a lot younger, even though when he's older, I think Pat Miletich has the power to fucking hurt him as well. Especially, Pat Miletich got that old man strength here. So he might just be able to ragdoll Mike Jackson. Mike Jackson's not a good grappler. We've seen the only time he's fought a grappler, we've seen him get choked out. I mean, I guess if you want to count CM Punk as a fucking grappler, I mean, he took Mike Jackson down and he's horrible. CM Punk is literally a average bloke. Like, like both of these guys are just your normal average bloke, off the street. Like they're literally like me or you. We are literally in the same category as Mike Jackson and CM Punk, in my opinion. We are in that category. I mean, I'm built a little bit differently, I'm built different, but I just mean like the average person, that is Mike Jackson. Mike Jackson's just the average schmojo off the street. Yeah, he's done a little boxing here and then, but he's 38 years old and he's not durable. He's not athletic. He's not good anywhere really. Like he's got some boxing, I'll give him that, but it's not really good. Now, like I say, Pat Miletich is so much older, but he's not like he's chinny or anything. He had a fight with like an actual genuinely good boxer in a kickboxing match. Yeah, he lost, but he was competitive. And even knowing the other guy he fought was older than him, I'm pretty sure he was older. Uh, I think his name was Michael Nuns. Yeah, Michael Nunn. He was older, but he was a top boxer back in the day. But he got like he was a generally top boxer, doing good things. 58-4, so like crazy record. But he lost to that guy, but that guy didn't knock him out. I know he was older, but he's still twice the fucking fighter that Mike Jackson is. Mike Jackson, just I don't know. This will be really depressing. Like Mike Jackson's obviously got a shot here. You know, fucking Pat Miletich is a fucking like literally an old man. Like he is not he's an old man, but I think he still has enough in the tank to beat Mike Jackson. Mike Jackson, if he was never in the UFC, nobody would know who the fuck he is, but he would literally just be like he'd be one of those guys with like a 2-6 record on like the regional scenes again, and those 2 wins would come against like a 0-4 opponent, something like that. He'd be one of those guys if he actually fought on the regional scene. Like that is Mike Jackson. Like that's him in a nutshell. Like generally, I'm not even exaggerating here. But yeah, generally it's fucking weird fight, but I think Pat Miletich being better everywhere and Mike Jackson having not a really good chin, I could honestly see fucking Pat Miletich cracking him, but I think the best bet here is just to go by. I think Pat Miletich either subs him or just holds him down. Like even in the build up, they were meant to have a kickboxing fight, and even then, Mike Jackson was saying, yeah, even if Pat thinks is going to come in here and hold me down for 3 rounds, I'm not going to let that happen, which lets me believe that he's probably very very not good in the grappling. They train together. That's a big part about this whole storyline. This whole storyline here. Pat Miletich got fired from LFA and all these different companies because Mike Jackson painted him as like what's it, an insurrectionist. That's it. From that January 6th protest when Biden was being inaugurated or when they, I think it was either when Biden was being inaugurated or it was when they were doing the electoral votes for Biden. I'm not quite sure. I don't really remember exactly, but something about that. And Mike Jackson, because Pat Miletich was there, but I don't think he fully participated. Like he wasn't fucking ransacking the White House or whatever it was. Well, not the White House, the House of Representatives. I don't think Pat Miletich was fucking kicking doors down, beating up security though. Like, I think he was just there, obviously supporting Trump or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Whole weird situation there. I don't really care about all that shit if I'm being honest. But yeah, just weird situation there. But Mike Jackson apparently made it sound worse than it was, and then yeah, it actually led to pressure getting to LFA, and they actually fired Pat Miletich, which he was actually a pretty good commentator in my opinion. But you know, outside of that, they did train together. Obviously, Pat Miletich was in Mike Jackson's corner when they fought, when Mike Jackson fought CM Punk. And yeah, it's crazy to see where they've gone, Now they're going to fucking fight when they're both pretty old. Like, well, Mike Jackson's not that old, but he's just shit. He is like 38 years old, though, so he's not, like I say, he's not that young, and he's not really ever been good. So I'm hoping Pat Miletich can get this one done. It'd be a feel good moment. But if it doesn't happen, if he doesn't, Jake Shields versus Mike Jackson has to happen. Mike Jackson's literally sent fucking Jake Shields to the slammer apparently, which is ironic given Mike Jackson's like take on the police and everything. But yeah, I don't know. Interesting fight, weird fight, but I'll find a way to tune in. I'll find a stream or something to watch this. I have to see this. But yeah, that's all I got to say about that. I hope Pat Miletich wins. I think he's going to win, but I'm fucking worried, and that's the sad part about this. I'm worried that one in two, yeah, 1 in 2, Mike Jackson might beat a former UFC champion. What a fucking world we live in. Obviously, a big asterisk if he wins, because obviously Pat Miletich in his prime would literally kill Mike Jackson, but still. If you made it this far into the video, make sure you give it a like. Let me know your thoughts on the matchup in the comment section below. And if you're not already, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.